Have you ever wondered if the world you're seeing is even real? Not just in some poetic or philosophical sense, but literally, what if the entire reality you think you're experiencing isn't something out there but a projection, a broadcast, from within your own consciousness? Might sound like science fiction or a spiritual metaphor. But modern quantum physics and neuroscience are revealing a truth far stranger than fiction. What you call reality is not something you're observing, something you're generating. Every moment, your brain isn't recording an external world. It's assembling a simulation based on your past, your beliefs, your expectations, and the emotional signatures embedded in your nervous system. You think you're walking through life seeing what's real, but you're walking through a hologram shaped by your focus, filtered through your subconscious, and stabilized by your state of being. This is not just theory. This is measurable. This is the observer effect in quantum mechanics, proving that particles building blocks of your world don't even exist in a definite state until they're observed. And who's the observer? But here's where it gets wild. You're always observing, even when you're not aware of it. Your doubts, your fears, your repetitive self-talk, they are forms of unconscious observation. And those signals, they're collapsing versions of reality into your timeline over and over again. You're not living in an objective world. You're living in a feedback loop of your own inner frequency. So if you've been feeling stuck, if your reality feels like a loop you can't name but deeply feel, this is why. But there's a key, a shift, a way to exit the loop. And it begins not with force, but with how you observe. Because when you learn to observe differently, the projection changes. When the projection changes, so does your world. Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing that everything you thought was outside of you, your relationships, your money, your health, your careers, actually just a mirror reflecting the frequency you're transmitting. Not metaphorically, but quite literally. The quantum field doesn't respond to your wishes, your goals, or even your actions. It responds to your coherence. That's why you can work hard, journal every morning, speak positive affirmations, and still find yourself repeating the same patterns. Because underneath the doing is a being of vibrational identity that hasn't shifted. Reality doesn't follow your commands. It follows your signal. And here's what makes this so revolutionary. You don't have to change the entire world to change your experience of it. You only have to change the signal you're sending. Think of it like tuning into a radio station. If you're set to 88.1 FM, you can't hear what's playing on 103.5 no matter how badly you want it. You must shift frequencies. And in your life, that frequency is your state of being, how you feel on repeat when you're not trying, the thoughts that play in the background when you're alone, the emotion your body is memorized as normal. This is the vibrational script your subconscious keeps sending into the quantum field, and the field keeps mirroring it back. Faithfully, that's not punishment. That's precision. It's also the doorway, because once you see the pattern, you can stop being it. Once you realize you're broadcasting lack, fear, or unworthiness, you can begin to interrupt the signal. You don't need a miracle. You need to retune. The retuning doesn't begin with thought. It begins with observation. But observation isn't just what you look at. It's what you expect to see. It's the internal lens that decides what becomes real. Here's the truth that most people feel deep inside, but rarely put into words. It's not that life is unbearable, that it feels invisible. You show up, you try your best, you do the work, but somehow you still feel unseen, unheard, unsupported. You scroll through social media and wonder why it seems so easy for others. You look at your bank account and feel a tightening in your chest. You try to connect with people, but deep down there's this haunting sensation that something's off. Like you're playing a role in a reality that wasn't written for you. That's not laziness. That's not failure. That's the vibration of disconnection from your own signal. You've been taught to focus on what's outside, your habits, your goals, your outcomes. But no one told you that none of it can change if the observer hasn't. That's why you can change jobs and still feel the same burnout. Enter a new relationship and still feel the same insecurity. Move to a new city and still feel stuck. Because the projector didn't change. Here's the heartbreak most people carry. They've been trying to fix an external reality. That's actually just a reflection of an internal frequency they didn't even realize they were emitting. But this pain, it's not permanent. It's not your truth. It's your pattern, and patterns can be interrupted. What if the reason things haven't shifted isn't because you're not trying hard enough, but because you're observing life through the lens of who you used to be? What if every delay, every frustration, every stuck loop is just the universe mirroring back the vibration of the past you haven't updated yet? And what if you could break that cycle not through force, but through a shift in awareness? So powerful that your entire field reorganizes around it? Because here's the secret no one ever taught us in school. The way you observe changes everything. And when you shift the observer, the observed world follows. Let's dive into the science they never taught you, Boot, that explains everything. In the strange world of quantum physics, reality doesn't behave the way we think it should. The subatomic level, particles don't have a fixed location until they're observed. They exist in a state of pure possibility, a cloud of probabilities waiting to be chosen. This is known as the observer effect. When a conscious observer pays attention, the wave collapses into a particle. In simpler terms, what you focus on becomes real. Not just psychologically, not metaphorically, literally. Your attention activates potential. But here's what most people miss. You're always observing. Every emotion, every assumption, every belief, these are all forms of observation. You're not just seeing the world, you're instructing it. Your subconscious attention becomes the script the universe reads from. This is why you keep attracting similar relationships, similar money struggles, similar emotional patterns. It's not that you're cursed or broken, it's that your observation hasn't changed. If you observe the world through the lens of nothing ever works out for me, then the quantum field receives that as a command. If you approach each day already expecting resistance, the wave collapses into a day filled with it. Here's the wild part. Your body joins the loop. Your nervous system, trained by years of emotional repetition, begins to fire the same hormones, the same stress patterns, same energetic signatures. Then when the outer world changes, your biology becomes a mirror of your belief. But the moment you observe differently with intention, clarity, and emotional alignment, you activate a new possibility. You signal the quantum field not from your past, but from your potential, and reality responds. This is the science of conscious creation. It's not wishful thinking, it's quantum instruction. So the real shift begins when you stop trying to change the world and start changing the way you watch it, because focus isn't passive, it's creative. And the moment you focus like a future version of you, the world starts showing up differently. Let's get practical, because this isn't just about ideas, it's about application. You don't change your life by wishing harder. You change it by shifting how you be. And the most powerful way to do that is to begin observing from the frequency of the version of you who already has what you've been asking for. Not in fantasy, but in calibration. Here's the practice. Close your eyes and imagine yourself having already made the shift, not as someone trying to manifest, but as someone who is. How do you breathe? How do you speak? What no longer worries you? What becomes effortless? Let your nervous system feel it not as a dream, but as a memory from the future, because in the quantum field, time doesn't move in a straight line. Every version of you already exists as a waveform, a real energetic pattern, waiting for your focus to collapse it into form. The more you feel into that version, the more real it becomes. And here's why that matters. Your subconscious doesn't know the difference between a vivid imagination and an actual experience. When you feel wealthy, loved, free, your body starts producing the chemistry of that reality. Your electromagnetic field shifts, your frequency changes. You stop broadcasting from fear and start transmitting coherence. And coherence is what the quantum responds to. That's how miracles become normal, not by forcing the outer world, but by stabilizing the inner one. Try this every morning. Sit. Still, breathe into your heart and ask, how does the version of me who's already living my dream life see this day? Observe the world from their eyes. Walk into your room like them. Check your phone like them. That shift in perception is a quantum key. It's not pretense. It's permission. The field doesn't need you to prove your worth. It needs you to embody your signal. And that begins not with action, but with observation. Do this long enough and you'll notice your outer world starting to bend, not because you forced it, but because you became a match to the timeline that was already waiting. Here's the trap hand. It's one almost everyone falls into without realizing. You begin to shift. Feel the new frequency. Start seeing subtle changes. And then, without warning, your old identity pulls you back. Not because you're weak, not because you failed, but because your subconscious mind is programmed to choose the familiar over the expansive. You might have glimpsed a higher timeline, but your nervous system still clings to safety. And what feels safe? The known. Predictable, even if that means scarcity, struggle, or self-doubt. This is why most people bounce between progress and relapse. They meditate, they visualize, they feel amazing, and then the next morning, one trigger, one negative thought, one glance at their bank account, and they're back to observing life from the old signal. Their body floods with cortisol, their heart rate shifts, and their energy contracts. Not because the new reality isn't possible, but because it hasn't become stable yet. The shift hasn't anchored. And here's the key. Your reality doesn't reflect your highest moments, it reflects your consistent baseline. So the work is not just to reach new frequencies, it's to return to them again and again until your system normalizes them, until peace becomes more familiar than stress, until trust becomes more natural than control. That's where the real shift happens, when you stop needing external confirmation to hold your internal frequency. When you wake up and say, I choose to observe differently, even if nothing outside has changed yet, because the field doesn't respond to your proof, it responds to your presence. And presence is built in moments of choice, especially when the old story wants to take the mic. So when fear rises, don't panic, observe it. When doubt whispers, don't react, witness it. Every time you do, you weaken the old script and reinforce the new one. That's how you shift timelines, not through perfection, but through persistence in frequency. Let's talk about the secret that turns theory into transformation: coherence. This is the hidden force behind every quantum leap. Every shift that feels instant, every manifestation that arrives out of nowhere. Coherence is when your mind, your emotions, your body, and your energy are speaking the same language, broadcasting the same signal. Most people never get here because they think the field responds to what they think. But the truth is, the quantum doesn't respond to thought alone. It responds to vibrational alignment. You can say, I am abundant, 100 times, but if your body is tense, your emotions are anxious. And your actions are hesitant, your signal is fragmented. And a fragmented signal doesn't collapse timelines, it scrambles them. Coherence, on the other hand, is magnetic. When you feel clarity, breathe trust, act with intention, and emotionally align with what you're choosing to observe them. Field listens. Not later. Not someday. Instantly. You don't have to make it happen because your frequency becomes the invitation. And here's the miracle. Coherence is not something you earn it, something you return to. You were born with it. Before the programming, before the fear, before the beliefs that told you it had to be hard. And now, you get to reclaim it. How? Through presence. Through practice. Through noticing when you leave yourself in, gently coming back. Every time you breathe slowly when your mind races, every time you choose gratitude over doubt, every time you anchor into the version of you who already knows it's done. You stabilize your field. You harmonize your frequency. You collapse a new timeline. That's why coherence isn't about being perfect. It's about being consistent. And the more often you tune in, the more your outer world begins to reflect your inner order. This is where the shift becomes visible, tangible, unmistakable. Here's the final piece. Most people never see the reason your shift might feel real on the inside but hasn't fully landed in your external world yet. Resonance without readiness. You've done the work. You've visualized, felt the new you, shifted your frequency, but a part of you often buried deep in the subconscious still doesn't feel safe to receive. It's not because you don't want it, but because your nervous system has been wired to expect the opposite for so long. If you've lived years in survival mode, scarcity, heartbreak, or hypervigilance, then abundance, love, ease even though you crave them, can feel unfamiliar. And in the body, unfamiliar often registers as unsafe. So even when your frequency aligns, if your body tenses, your breath shortens, your energy contracts at the edge of receiving.
Wow.
The field reads that as not yet, it's not denial, it's precision. The quantum is mirroring your total signal, not just your surface desire. This is where most people get frustrated. They think they're doing something wrong. They try to manifest harder. X manifestation isn't about effort, it's about integration. You're not just shifting thoughts, you're recalibrating. A system that's been in one signal for years, that takes grace. You must teach your body that peace is safe, that overflow is natural, that love isn't a threat. This is the missing link between alignment and embodiment. Between knowing and living, the shift is real. You feel it. But to stabilize it, you must become a safe space for the new frequency. That means breathing through the discomfort of expansion. Holding the frequency even when no external sign has arrived. And most importantly, allowing the version of you who already lives in that reality to lead not occasionally, but consistently. When your energy says, "I'm ready," and your nervous system agrees, the field responds in full. Now it's time to anchor the shift to turn fleeting alignment into a stable, embodied state that reshapes your entire life. Because transformation isn't about peak moments, it's about your energetic baseline. And the key to locking in that baseline is a daily practice of frequency leadership. This isn't about adding more to your to-do list. It's about intentionally guiding your field with small, potent acts that reinforce who you're becoming. Here's the method. The focus loop. Each day, you'll set 3 touch points: morning, midday, and night. Not to check off progress, but to realign your frequency with clarity. Start in the morning before your phone, before the world hijacks your attention. Ask, what reality am I choosing to observe today? Not what do I want, not what do I need. What am I choosing to see? Because what you see becomes what you select. Feel into that version of you. Walk like them. Think like them. Then at midday, set a simple reminder on your phone, just a single phrase. Return to the frequency. When it buzzes, pause for 30 seconds. Breathe. Ask yourself, am I observing from fear or from truth? If you've drifted into reaction, shift. If you've stayed aligned, amplify. Then at night, before sleep, don't just reflect on what happened. Reflect on how you observed it. Did you respond like the old you or the new you? What energy were you radiating, and what did it attract? Feel gratitude not just for what went well, but for every moment you caught yourself and chose again. This loop isn't just ritual. It's reprogramming. You're retraining your subconscious, your biology, your energetic field to stabilize in the new signal. And over time, that signal becomes default. Not through force, but through familiarity. This is how reality bends, not in sudden leaps. In quiet consistency. Here's where everything changes. Not because you're adding anything new, but because you finally remembered who you are. When your signal stabilizes, you stop chasing outcomes. You stop asking, how do I make it happen? And start knowing, I am the frequency it happens through. You walk into rooms differently. You speak from a deeper center. People feel your presence before you say a word. Because you're no longer reacting, you're radiating. The field no longer mirrors your uncertainty. It bends to your coherence. And this coherence becomes effortless not because life stops challenging you, but because you stop collapsing into the old version of you when it does. You begin to recognize that you're not just part of the field. You are the field, a living, vibrating broadcast of your chosen identity. This is the moment when manifestation dissolves as a goal and becomes your natural state of being. The more you lead with vibration, the less you need to explain. The more you embody the signal, the faster reality rearranges. So the question now isn't, can I do it? The question is, am I willing to stay in the frequency even when the evidence hasn't arrived yet? Because that's where the real shift happens. not in doing, but in being the proof. And if something in you stirred, softened, or remembered, as you watched this, then you've already begun collapsing the new timeline. So don't stop here. Stay in this frequency. Keep tuning in. And if you want more moments like this, more transmissions that activate your knowing and recalibrate your field, then you're in the right place. This channel isn't just a platform, it's a portal, space for energetic leaders like you to rise, align, and remember. So if this resonated, like the video to amplify the signal, comment below with "I choose to observe differently" to declare your shift. And subscribe so the field can keep guiding you back to yourself, because this isn't the end of a video. This is the beginning of your next reality, and the frequency of that future starts right here, right now with you.